Jamar.
What's going on YouTube?
Washington.
This is boy Jamar here once again. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Jamar here once again. I know last week I didn't get a chance to do the review for the Chasing Atlanta, child. I'm just so used to saying it. The Chasing LA episode 2. But y'all, last week I took my second vaccine shot and that shit kicked my ass, okay? I'm still a little congested and kind of feeling all type of under the weather right now, but I said I ain't gonna miss 2 weeks in a row, goddamn it. And mainly because we have to talk about Chasing LA as a whole here. And I still of course love the franchise. I love Q, and Dario, anybody else that works on production, but something about this particular franchise seems, I don't want to say it's off, but something's like missing. And it's like right on the tip of my tongue, I'm like, something is not present, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is. But we'll get more into that towards the end of the show. But let's start off, we're gonna try. Can you not? Thank you. No, I got my dog over here making all this damn noise. So we leave off where we pick up where we left off last week, where they were having the stripper pole dance class and whatnot. And everybody had, this issue with Alicia, mainly Quan and Jayla. Now, I don't know if it was just me. If I missed it, if I looked away, if I went to the bathroom at this time, but they felt like Alicia had like a standoff personality. She was kind of like quiet to herself throughout the entire class. And so Jayla and Quan felt away. And when they sort of confronted her on it, and in addition to what happened at the Hamburger Mary's meetup, they mentioned how they were coke allegations. Now, at that point, I'm like, did I miss that? Or did I not, like, did they put the coke allegations on screen? Or was that something that happened offline? Like, I was mildly confused as to where that whole coke allegation thing came from. Because I'm like, we didn't necessarily see that as the audience when it happened. So that kind of left me confused. I said, wait a minute, I thought there was just a disagreement about queens and HBICs and all that stuff. Like, where did the coke come in? I completely missed that. And, Quan said that, you can't, joke about that. People have made personal struggles with that. And that's true. That is true. However, you made your own, comments that you, of course, you apologize for, but it's just like, girl, people have been dealing with that all their life, about being, dark and ugly. It's like, come on. Now, if you want us to acknowledge your struggle, you have to acknowledge everybody else's struggle too. Now, and like I said, I cannot wait for Scotty and I to start bringing these cast members on to the Prelude to talk and interview and things like that, so we can really get down with some of this stuff, because they, on these platforms, these people be making y'all look crazy. Crazy. So it's always a great place for us to kind of dissect and really gonna get to the nitty gritty about certain stuff. So I can't wait to have, because next week we have Jeremy and Alicia. Definitely looking forward to that. Followed by D. Hawkins the week after, Hershey the week after, and then Quan is at the end of the month of May. So we have a full stack of Chasing LA interviews. So make sure y'all go over to Scotty by Nature TV. Check out the Preludes, because we're going to be having it on and popping over there. Now, after they, have separated, Jayla and Alicia have had their words. I don't necessarily want to say body shaming each other, but kind of body shaming each other, kind of pointing out different things about the body, about being tall. And Jayla ultimately kind of said that she was kind of ugly, or the type of woman that would be ugly. I'm not sure. It was just strange. And then they walked away. And but what I will say is that when they were in the parking lot, and now D. Hawkins had some problematic comments in relation to Alicia saying, well, if you're giving me man, then, well, actually, you know what? I wasn't fully sure if D. Hawkins was talking about Alicia or Fran. Because at the parking lot, they were talking about, well, where is Fran? And the discussion that him and, they and Alicia had, excuse me, I don't want to misgender anyone. But I remember D. Hawkins made a comment saying, well, if you're giving me man, then I'm going to call you a man. And I wasn't sure if he was talking about Alicia or was he talking about Fran. So now, damn, because I was going to say, damn, that's kind of fucked up. But I felt like he may have been talking about Alicia because Jayla commented and said, you know what, I don't want to misgender anybody because, you know, I'm a trans woman too. So, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to ask, I'm going to have to go back and be like, which one was he talking about? Because they were talking about how Fran did not come to the event. So I'm just like, oh, okay, child. So at least I liked how, even though Jayla and Alicia weren't, you know, the closest of friends at the time, she, you know, kind of stood up for her a little bit, just like, okay, well, I just don't want to just completely disrespect you. And here's another thing. I didn't get to say this last week because of, you know, I didn't get a chance to do the episode. But Fran, and when they said that Alicia was a man, and he got mad at her for saying that, or not knowing that they were non-binary. The thing about it is, you can clearly see the presentation that Alicia is giving, you know, a female. And for you to call them a man is just complete disregard and disrespect. And then if you say, oh, you know, I'm non-binary, get it right. The thing is, when it comes to the non-binary people, there is no way of anyone else outside of that person knowing that that person is non-binary. Non-binary has no look. So for you to assume that, or how are we supposed to know that? Like, if you look like and give me like femboy, I'm going to assume that you're a femboy unless you tell me otherwise. How am I supposed to know that? And how are you supposed to get mad at me for not knowing that you're non-binary? So I thought that was strange. It's like, okay, so you want to be respected as non-binary, but you're going to go out of your way to disrespect her and call her a man. Got it. I'm like, that two wrongs don't make a right, baby. I'm just saying. I'm glad I got that out. So the next scene, we see Fran and Andre meet up with Ian. What they call his name? Fly King I think it'd be easier just for me to call you Ian. Because that name doesn't necessarily roll off the tongue like I wanted to. So Ian can finally get introduced because he was a part of the cast. I'm like, we're 2 episodes in and we haven't even seen this man. I'm like, where is he? So I'm glad they finally introduced him. And they're all at this, at Andre's friend's boutique. And basically they're kind of catching Ian up on their interactions with the group. Fran says he feels like Ian's cool. He has like a cute vibe, and even though he did kind of give him like he's an older vibe, I'm just like, oh, okay, child. I don't know if that was supposed to be shade or what, but you're talking about how they don't see it for King Payne, they don't really see it for Alicia. Basically giving the rundown of people that he should and should not fuck with, essentially, from the group. I'm just like, okay, well, hopefully Ian takes that, because that's the kind of person I am. People will try to tell me that, oh, you shouldn't mess with such and such, you shouldn't do this and shouldn't do that. And my thing is, usually if I have to interact with them later on down the line, I'm gonna try to get my own interpretation or my own perspective of who a person is, because your dealings with them and my dealings with them could be completely different interactions, you know what I mean? So I take it with a grain of salt. I keep it in mind. Don't get me wrong, I'm not just gonna go in there blind. But, you know, just because y'all have a problem doesn't mean that we're gonna have a problem. And I hate like having an issue with somebody and never even have known or engaged with them at all based on what somebody else said. So I felt like Ian was taking it in because he hasn't met any of these people yet. So I'm hoping that he kind of takes it with a grain of salt and kind of has his own judgment on it later on in the season, but we'll see how that goes. So next we sit down with Alicia and Hershey, and God bless Hershey. Hershey is me in this cast. If I was in this cast, I would definitely be Hershey, because he's just kind of like, we all just met. Why are we cussing each other out, fighting and doing all this on the first day that we just met? Like, why? But why? Why? And he kind of talks to Alicia and makes and feels like a lot of what Alicia's problem was with Jayla initially was miscommunication. And he feels that Alicia may have just taken a lot of what Jayla said out of context in regards to the whole drinking and queen comments and whatnot, which is kind of what it felt like to me. And mind you, because on the first review, I was talking about how confused I was at the whole King Payne Andre argument, and Hershey commented said that they actually left a lot of that out. So it did kind of look like it went from 0 to 100, and that's been like my main criticism of Chasing LA thus far. Q, if you happen to be watching. It's because it's not like we don't like the drama. I've seen some people saying like, oh, it's just about fighting and whatnot. I mean, people are here for the disagreements, they are. But if the context isn't fully there, the audience isn't able to properly engage with the drama because we don't know why the drama is there, if that makes sense. Because leaving out whatever the context was between King Payne and Andre was kind of critical, because on our end, it just looks like, oh, let's go around the room and say what we think about each other. And next thing you know, they reading each other, calling each other Missy Elliott and Akon. It's like, wait, what? How do we get from A to Z? Like, we would, like, there's some in between that we're missing here. And I felt like something similar was going on with Jada, I keep calling her Jada. Jayla and Alicia. I was like, wait, coke allegations, where was that made? I don't know. I'm hoping going forward that since this is the first like longer episode that we've had, that they sort of flesh out the storylines a little bit more, give them more time to breathe, and allow us to connect the dots as the audience. Because right now we're kind of looking like, what? What? Maybe it's just me. It might just be me, because I'm just like, I don't understand how some of this drama is even happening, because it feels like it's coming out of nowhere, and I'm sure it's just editing. But I hope that they kind of smooth this out as we go. We all know episode 3. I'm anticipating like maybe 10 to 12 episodes, so we still got time. But I was interesting how they cut out the scene where Alicia was saying, when they asked about their first impressions of everybody, how he said that King Payne was a lawyer. That's an interesting. That would have been the first thing that I thought of. That's no shade, but I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. And then he's like, Jayla's a stripper. And Jeremy sells drugs. I'm like, what are these things based on, girl? I mean, she did talk about it, how you got the body, and Jeremy looks very mannish, and King Payne kind of has that whole, like, I don't want to call it like uppity, but just like, I don't want to say aggressive either. I don't know what the adjective that I'm looking for is, but I was like, okay, I see it. But I thought that would have been interesting. That's some great context that would have been great for the conversation on the first episode. I was like, why did they splice it and put it in heat? I don't know, child. It is what it is, but I thought that was cute. And Hershey talked about how he heard that Andre was talking about his makeup and he gonna have to read him about that. I'm like, okay, so where was that? Like, what? You can't make these references and callbacks to moments that we as the audience did not see. Or what? Like, are they online? And if they were online, usually they be posting. They post the Instagram posts. They post everything so we can see it. Child. I hope that we kind of smooth this out, because I like the cast. I really do. I think that the dynamic is great. But we're just missing bits and pieces. I'm like, I need all the pieces so I can get all the context. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully we get there. Next we get D. Hawkins and Quan. We're talking about the whole last meetup, and Quan is reiterating the Alicia Coke comment, and he goes into detail about his struggle with cocaine and how he used to have to go do it every day. He had to do it just to get through work, and he didn't think it was really much of an addiction because he was able to get his bill paid. Job was working fine, and it wasn't until his brother's passing that he was like, oh, like, I really need to like get this together, because otherwise this could be me next. And I've lost someone due to coke related things as well. Like, coke was like the gateway to other things, but it still was a result of it. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, and I'm glad that he shared it. He was like 2 years sober off of the drugs. So kudos to Quan for expressing that and sharing that story with us, because I thought that was really, really nice. And we also got a tender moment where D. Hawkins talked about not having his father in his life and how he wants to make a song about that experience. Now, the one thing, and I'm sure I want to make sure I bring this up when we interview D. Hawkins next month, is he made the comment on how he feels like because his father wasn't in his life, that may have attributed to him being gay. And it never sat well with me, the idea that because your father or male figure is not around, that it has a cause or an effect of someone being gay. And I'm like, well, I've had my father in my life in my entire life and still homosexual as hell. So I never really liked that whole like, oh, this circumstance made you gay. And I'm just like, usually, at least from my understanding, sexuality is either you are or you're not. Based on something, some chemical going on in the brain at birth. And it was always going to develop into be this one way no matter what you did. You could try to deny it, but I felt like it either is or isn't. That just could be me. I never really like to subscribe to the whole, oh, because I didn't have a daddy in my life that caused me to be gay. Because it's like, no. Because those of us that are still gay, it's like, okay, so what about us? You know what I mean? But be that as it may, they both bonded on, because neither Quan nor D. Hawkins had their fathers in their lives, and they were able to bond on that whole experience. And I thought that was really nice to see a softer side, because the two of them have been kind of like rah, rah, rah this whole time. So I'm glad we kind of got like a cool, like tender moment with the two of them. But hopefully by the time D. Hawkins' interview comes around, I hope we get to see that whole spat that they were showing in the preview between Jeremy and D. Hawkins, because that was a lot. There were chairs about to be thrown and all it's about to be a whole lot. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So the next scene we get to see, we had a lot of solo scenes this round, so we're getting to see a lot of people kind of doing their business. We see Jeremy on the set of For Christmas Sake, I believe was the name of it, with a popular YouTuber, and he said he was working with like girls from Drag Race. And I'm seeing Monique Hart in the background. I'm like, oh, hey sis, how you doing? Did this project ever come out? Because I didn't see any of the girls that I saw in the promo post about it. I'm about to check this out when I get done. But Jeremy's gonna be our first interview. I'm really, really excited because Jeremy is fine as hell. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. And he's single. But I'm not in LA no more, so it don't really make a difference. But it's still great to see, because a lot of the criticism for people that talk about these shows, like, oh, they just get up on there and fight and throw drinks. It's like, at least this episode, we're seeing, Andre working in his friend's showroom on different projects. We're seeing, Quan and D. Hawkins on the set of their photo shoot. We're seeing Jeremy on the set why can't I get, bitch, say the word. Doing choreography on the set of For Christmas Sake. So I'm glad to see like the people out there actually showing what it is that they're chasing, the businesses that they're actually trying to build up. So that's a great, great thing to see. So then we get to this hike, okay? And apparently this was all D. Hawkins' idea. And let me tell you something. I went on a hike with my sis, Monique Hart, a few months ago. I don't forget where we even went, but that shit, we did about 22,000 steps, and I don't think I could ever do that again. I was going to pass out many, 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 many times. Because them hills and valleys up in LA, or just California in general, are no joke. They are no joke. So yeah, this is apparently D. Hawkins' idea, and so they get up there. And on the way up, I guess Alicia and Jayla rode together, or they just arrived together. So they're walking up the hill, and it's like really awkward, and just like you just don't say nothing. It's just like weird. So Jayla decides to take the opportunity to slow down and just like try to squash the beef between the two of them. And I feel like Jayla is very mature. I feel like she has, her moments like all of us do. But anytime that she's had like these disagreements, she's sort of made a point to sort of squash them, or at least like, you know what, hey, let me not harp on this too much. And I think that's an attribute about her that I really do like. So she's like, you know what, let's just squash the beef. I felt like, you know, things are miscommunicated, and, you know, we're the only two like trans girls on the show. Like, we should be able to stick together. And, you know, now that we squashed the beef, you know, ain't nobody gonna be able to say nothing about you like in my presence, and we can get to that level. So hopefully, you know, this is something that will continue further into the season. Hopefully they don't have to regress back to fighting each other again. Cause child. And then we end off the episode with, I guess, a preview of next week, where it looks like Alicia and Andre get into it, because I guess Andre feels like he was disrespected in some ways. So I'm like, okay, we're going to see where this goes. And this was an interesting choice to have like two different angles for like the ending confessionals when they're all in the same place. I'm like, that's a choice. I guess it didn't bother me. It was just like random and out of nowhere. I'm just like, okay. Well, I mean, that was Chasing LA, you guys. I mean, it's still going. It's a brand new series. It's season 1. There are only 3 episodes in, so you got to give them the benefit of the doubt and just kind of let them flesh themselves out. But I mean, all in all, I'm still enjoying it. There's still a little problematic things here and there said, but I can't wait to start getting into the interviews so I can really get to know a lot of the members from the cast. And if anybody's watching, you're welcome to come onto the platform. I can't wait to talk to you. I hope no one takes any offense to the things that I said. These are just my opinions based on what we see on the platform. But anyways, make sure you guys follow me on all my social media platforms at Jamar84. Of course, we're here on YouTube, but you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Jamar84, with the exception of TikTok, which is Jamar840. All right? So, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Like, share, subscribe.
Jamar, Washington, Washington, Washington.